Okay, everyone. We're going to kick back off again with Stephen, who's going to teach us how to think like a hacker. He's got a very what's the word I'm looking for? Interactive talk where we all have to get our phones out and have some hacking fun. So be prepared to interact.
This topic won't work really as well if you don't interact. So please do. This is, as I mentioned before, this is a new version of the original talk that I did last time was the sequel to. Basically, this one is how a hacker thinks about breaking into a site, what they would do, and what you would do as the hacker in that scenario. Now, when I first did this, it was just a show and tell. I was showing you the hacking steps, but I figured why not make it fully interactive? So if you get out your phones and go to that site, you will be able to hack into the site. What's that?
Are you hacking me?
Comment? No.
Sorry, just a second. Can you refresh me from the last time you were here? Was this one where you talked about Canary?
I mentioned Canary tokens last time, yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so Canary tokens are things you hide around your server. So if someone breaks into your server, then you get alerted that someone's playing on your server, which is really cool. There may be a Canary token hidden in this talk because I use them everywhere. Anyway, so if you go to the domain, you'll get to something that looks like the left side of that. The right side is basically for entertainment to see what people are doing. I did this talk over in Laracon EU, over in Portugal. So GDPR warning, anything you put in the nickname in the password field will be seen on the screen and recorded and broadcast live. So, GDPR, blah, 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 whatever it is. Your email address won't be displayed unless I've really screwed something up, so you should be safe to put it in there. If you don't trust me, put a burner in there, doesn't matter, but you won't win a prize if you don't put your email address in there. So, it's up to you. So, when you're breaking into a website, when a hacker would try to hack into a site, what they would do if they're trying to break into an account and they don't know the password, they'd use like a brute force attack or a credential stuffing attack. And so they'd run a script that tries multiple passwords quite quickly to try and guess the password logging into the site. Because when I first did this, there were 500 people in the audience at Laracon EU. So I figured, why do I need a script when I've got 500 people to guess the password for me? Now I've got slightly less than 500, but still there's enough of you to try and guess the password. So try and guess the password. Now, hopefully some of you are hitting the rate limiter. And that is, one of the protections that you have in place when you're building a login form and you're protecting the site. The problem with a rate limiter is, especially this one is based on IP address. And it's really easy for someone who's running an automated attack to trying to break into a website to change their IP address. You can use different VPNs or use a botnet or Tor or something like that. To get around that, I'm just going to little bot mode. Where is it gone?
Did someone's LastPass autofill like a legit password?
I would wonder why their LastPass has a password for that domain in it, but yeah.
Type that on a phone, you're a champion.
Yeah. So the password rate limiter is now gone. It was that easy. Now everyone is rotating their IP addresses when they attack the site. In reality, I just turn off the rate limiter. But the point is that if you're just using IP address solely as your rate limiter, or if that's part of your key, it's trivial to bypass it. Now someone can run a script and hammer your site with lots of different password attempts, bypassing your rate limiter entirely. A better way to do it would be like doing it on the username. The problem with the username is that you can lock out the user. And so if you just keep hammering a user's account with their username, it's going to lock them out. And if they try and log in, then they can't get in because it's locked. So that's where you need like alerting and reporting and things like that. But in general, don't just rely on the IP address in order to rate limit things. Cool, so how are we going?
Why are some of them highlighted and some of them not?
Good question. So the ones that are bright green are from a list of top 200 common passwords that I found. So the password, I'm going to say should be one of those because I don't actually know what the password is.
Do you have to guess it yourself?
No. So the password I just typed in there is actually a secret command that tells the system to accept the next password from the 200 list, which happens to be user not found. When I did this last time, it was equal password. I thought that was quite appropriate too. So, the correct password, sorry, not user not found, that's the user. The password is what's the password. Love that one. So now we have someone who's logged in. So you can now use the password to log in. And you'll notice the number up to the username is actually the number of points. So you're getting points for this. So, the more hacking you do, the more points you get. So now we're past the first stage. Now we're into the application. So as a hacker, what we're going to do now is look around and figure out what we can do now. What access do we have? What can we, say, escalate our account to? Because you can see up the top it says challenge number 2, escalate your account to premium. So there's not much we can do here, apart from like look at the verification email that was sent to us. It's displayed on screen because talk, blah, 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 right? So you get this in your email and you click on the link, your account has been activated, but we're still not premium user. We still haven't done anything. But if I grab the URL, oops, copy the link address, and if we look at the URL up here, we can see we have this little flag in here called premium equals 0. So what happens if we change that? You know, why is premium equals 0 passed in at the URL for the verification email? So invalid signatures, it doesn't work, right? Well, what if we change the signature? You know, signature's wrong, make up one, still not working. But
Leave it blank.
okay, leave it blank. No,
Like get rid of signature in total.
exactly. So when they wrote the code, when they built this feature and this signature checker, they were trying to do backwards compatibility. And so they didn't used to have a signature on it. And so they figured if the signature is being passed, we'll validate it. If not, backwards compatibility let it through. And they didn't join the dots that you just remove the signature and then you're downgrading your request to the old version and you get through. And for the record, that is a real vulnerability that I found on a customer site. So it does happen. It's not one of these crazy examples that makes no sense. So yeah, it's that simple to break into sites and escalate privileges. Look for parameters on the URL and just change things. If there's a signature, just get rid of it and see what happens. If there's like a hash or a CSRF token, get rid of it, see what happens, see if they're actually validating it or not. So the next thing we want to do, now that we're all getting into premium access, we want to edit the administrator bio. So we can go to your own bio and go to me while having fun with that. So you go into your bio, and then what you want to do is find the administrator bio. So how would we go about doing that? What was that?
Just use the SQL script.
No, it's something simpler. Look on the screen.
URL that already uses /23.
Yeah.
So uses 0.
Yeah, so the URL here has a number in it, which means that it's probably referring to the ID of a model, and it's possible that if we change it, we're going to get to someone else's account. This isn't the user is a different one, so have fun finding the admin. It's not one. But the point is that there's no protection in place for the URL parameters for this ID. This is called an insecure direct object reference. And it's very common. It happens all the time when you've got references to objects and you've got the URL of the ID in the URL, so an incremental number or a UUID or a SUG or anything else like that. It's very common for people to forget to check the authorization of that. And so the request will come in and you'll assume they've only got the URL because they're supposed to have it, they're supposed to know the ID. If it's an incremental ID, finding it is a piece of cake. Finding the admin user is a piece of cake. You just keep incrementing the number and you'll eventually get to it. I'll give you guys a few more seconds before I tell you what the number is. Everyone's having too much fun with the bio box and they are finding the admin, I say.
Isn't it always 42? Isn't that always the answer?
61.
Not 42, not that one either. It's not one of the fun numbers though. Well, I think it's fun.
420, man.
13. So yeah. So update the number to 13 and suddenly we're an admin user. Piece of cake. Alrighty, so our next challenge, now that we have the admin box, now that we have an admin page, is we want to escalate our own account to admin. And because we have this box on the admin page, there's a chance that the admin is going to see what we type in here. So we can just leave them a rude message like some people have left them, but we can try and get it fancy. As you can see, we've got at the bottom of the screen, we've got the alert document cookies. Well, what else can we do? Is there something else we can put in that box? We want to figure out what the capabilities of this box is. So, if we do script, and we know this is not going to work. Well,
Am I going to start JavaScript on my phone?
yeah. So there is actually a thing running on this page down in here, which gives you the browser console and the network tab, which runs on your phone for debugging this script. Because you've got the easy job. So we can see here, this is doing nothing. We're not getting any alerts, even though it's being rendered down here. But no one that I've seen anyway has solved the check.
Div on load equals JavaScript
Yeah, do you want to type it in?
on my phone.
Type it into the box. I can't see it on the feed.
I can't type that well on my phone.
Oh,
If
well,
you haven't said in the advertisement today, bring your laptop to the meetup.
you can do it on the phone. I've done it, but yeah, it does take effort. So anyway, no one I've seen has tested Markdown. The box is vulnerable to Markdown, which means who knows anything about Markdown? Is it secure by default?
No.
Exactly. Now, the Markdown that Laravel uses by default does turn off the script tags. That comes as part of I think it's the GitHub flavored Markdown they use, but it's only direct script tags. You can put other tags in there because the Markdown spec says that other tags are perfectly allowed. And because Laravel uses parse down, which follows the spec as it is supposed to be followed, you can put any other tag in there, including cross-site scripting on our Markdown by the default Markdown parser in Laravel. So now we can run our cross-site scripting on the page. And so we can take that a step further. Now we're running our cross-site scripting on the page. Well, this is that we can assume this will be seen by the admin user. It's going to run in their browser when they go into their bio page. And in order to do that, and I've given you a help at the bottom, what we want to do is send a post request to that URL and send our user code with the admin flag of true. And if that runs on the admin page, which I've got hiding over here, running in an auto refreshing frame at the bottom there, then we should be escalated to an admin. So we can throw it in here. So we can do everything through our little on error, which gets triggered automatically. There's no user input requirement. So we can try fetch. And you can cheat. As you know, I don't know the syntax of fetch. Fetch is not going to work in it because we hit a CSRF error. So we can't just use a standard fetch in here because it's going to hit a CSRF token problem. We don't have the token. But given this is a web application that runs things like Axios, which by default has CSRF integration into it, we can just use that. We don't have to figure out how to get the code because Axios knows it for us. So what we have to do here, oops. Now we want to add someone else's getting there first. Did you get an error, whoever that was?
Yeah.
Good.
Well, what did I do?
That's what I was supposed to. Oops. Ah. All right.
Could you also
There we go.
just do a get request to your own service and then modify the query parameters?
What was that, sorry?
Like instead of posting, could
Yep.
you get like a real image and then on your end, on your service that you control log the incoming query parameters?
Yeah, but you can't steal the CSRF key from that, and you need the cookie. So what you want is the request happening in the admin browser because they're logged in as the admin, and so you're forging a request as the admin to the admin endpoint. And so you need the admin cookies, which are in their browser, and you need the CSRF token for the post submission. But if you were trying to steal other information, definitely you could do that. Yeah, you could grab the cookies and send them out to your server via a GET request. That would be really easy if you wanted to get the cookies and they are available to you, but not for this specific function. Yeah. All right, so I escalated myself to admin. How'd that happen? That shouldn't have happened yet. Anyway, the problem is going well. All right, so the error we have here is Axios is not defined, which means that this code is running before Axios loads on the page. But we can fix that too. Set timeout is our friend. And we can just tell Axios to run after, 100 milliseconds or something. Set updates. And now it's supposed to escalate my admin. There we go. Nice work, Nathan. All right, so that's how we escalate our account to be an admin, basically through cross-site scripting through the little image tag because of the vulnerable markdown on the page. All right, one more to go.
I'll ask a question.
Yep.
If you lift out the cookies, are they usable or are they somehow tied in some way to the browser? So if you were to lift out the cookies, you can comment in a whole session.
It depends on the cookie. So yeah, session. If you grab a session cookie, then you just put that in the browser and then you visit the application and it'll read the cookie and it'll give you the session. So session hijack. Session cookies are usually set, they should be set to HTTP only. So they're not accessible via the JavaScript, which means that you can't lift them out of JavaScript. You have to get them in the browser itself.
Okay.
So that does add protection in there. But yeah, other cookies like the CSRF header that Laravel sends to JavaScript, the XSRF token one, that one is accessible to JavaScript, so you can lift that one out.
Yeah.
But if you're lifting that out, then you've already got access to the code anyway. You don't need to be doing external CSRF tags. But that's why, yeah, you need a HTTP flag on the cookie to protect the cookies, because if someone steals it, they can do things, yeah.
If you don't have that, you can just grab the cookie and put it in an image URL to a third-party server. And
yeah, if it doesn't have that, yeah, you can, as long as you can run some JavaScript, you can send it off, yeah.
yeah, or even just put in an image URL, question mark, put it at the end. The image is on your server and it records it.
Yeah, but you need the JavaScript running in the client side to attach the cookie onto the URL with the image.
Like, you know.
Yeah. Cool.
The post request you meant to send as a different user ID for everyone.
That's so I can identify who it is, because it's running as the admin. So they're all running in this little window over here, which is a auto refreshy frame, which is running as the admin user. And so when this runs whatever JavaScript that you send to it, it needs to know who triggered it. And rather than putting your ID, your incremental ID, I used a little hash ID in there just to make it a bit more random. So you couldn't put someone else's ID in accidentally, or someone wouldn't copy mine from the screen, for example. And that's also why I included the text in here, so you can just copy paste it, but that's also to make it easier on the phone. If you're doing this in real life, you're doing lots of real application rather than this, you wouldn't have these simple sort of parameters. You'd be going up to like the user ID, or you'd be finding them by email address or something. Or you'd be changing like global settings. I've seen a lot on WordPress where you change the registration default role to administrator. So the next user that registers an account on WordPress is automatically administrator. I don't know why that's a feature, but it is. And so it's very common to find on hack sites that the default registration route is now administrator, and they open registration when it was previously closed. So it's really easy to just create a new administrator account. But if you're running JavaScript, you could just create your own account through the JavaScript anyway. And it's not like WordPress where you know where the form is. It's a really simple payload to just send it to create an account. Ultimately, you're running your own JavaScript as the admin, so you can do whatever you want with it. Alrighty, we've got a couple in admin. So the next and final stage is this one here. So the text, if you find any of the pages in here, are randomly generated by GitHub Copilot, which was an entertaining experience. It has some very weird ideas. Anyway, so as the hacker, again, we're looking around and seeing what we can do. Because I was making this for the phones, I was trying to make things as simple and accessible as possible. You can do this one without being admin for anyone who wants to keep going. So what we're going to do is modify URL parameters and see what happens here. So if I go to test, for example, we can see cannot find test.md. But this immediately draws a red flag. Because why is it referencing a file extension here? Does this mean it's looking for this file with an extension and to see if it exists? And if so, can we do sort of file traversion? Can we look for different files with different paths on this site? So as one good thing to check is we want to look for the .env file, and we're getting a forbidden. So the server is preventing us from hitting the env file, which is actually a thing that Nginx is doing. It's a rule in Nginx, a security feature in there. But we can trick it because it's looking for the dot. And you can use URL encoded characters to bypass that. So we'll grab the dot down here, which is the %2e, and we can get rid of the dot %2e. Okay, the browser is stuffing us up here because the browser is turning that into a dot when it sends the request. So what we want to do is encode the percentage and then the dot. So %25 is the percentage. 25, so that's the percent sign, and then we've got the 2e, which are the other two characters that make up the dot, which now we have the .m file. So we've got .m.md in there. So we're getting closer. We're now trying to find the file.
I hate watching this.
That's the point. All right, now the end file isn't going to be in the directory that our markdown files is. If it is, there's a problem, but it shouldn't be. So which means you need to go out of the directory. So I just want to grab that so it's in my clipboard, and then we can go, well, that's going to give us a not found, because you can see the browser has again helpfully jumped us back a directory. So it took out the markdown directory in there because of the dots. Well, let's just grab our fake dots. Now we have a .md, so we're getting closer. But we still have the problem of the .md. So we're going to keep playing around and see what we can find. And with enough trial and error, you'll realize that, again, we have backwards compatibility things, and they maybe wanted to support different file extensions. So we'll go about this a different way. So, for example, if I put like .text at the end, we'll see it's dropped the MD. So it's looking for something in that string to work out if what the extension of the file is looking for. And we can assume it's looking for the dot because that gives us the extension. And so if I go back and get rid of this again and do dot there, we're now looking for .mv. Almost there. All we need is to go back another level. And then I do this. Get rid of the double slash. Environment file.
But nobody puts the environment file in their production list.
Why not?
All good developers.
Why not? It's perfectly valid. It's outside the public directory, isn't it?
This is true, but you've made it
public with everyone.
clear that you should
Well, where else are you going to put them?
inject them with the CI/CD.
Yeah, but you have other sensitive files on your own system, other uploaded files or anything else in there. I mean, granted, if you're running like Lambda or something, you're not going to have any sort of, you shouldn't have any sort of sensitive files, but that's no guarantee. What if you've got a Git directory in there? You can find all the files in your Git directory through this method as well.
So you're saying that you should be committing private.
I'm saying you should be FTPing like you said you did last time. FTP without .git, you're all good.
Nathan, didn't you say that we can actually deploy a PHP site and then wipe all of it off the hard drive and run it on the upcache, or what was the?
Yeah, that's when you turn on
So the JIT or something.
Yeah, just yeah.
no the what is it, the cache, not the hop cache, the next one above that, which loads like all of your PHP code into memory.
Yeah, that's what I want. Does that fix
I
it?
forget what it's called.
We just wipe everything away.
Well, if you wipe the application files, there's still other files on the server. And if you dig deep enough, you can see the one here looking for etc/password. And if we kept going, we could probably find that etc/password.
Yeah, and how do you get rid of the .md on the end of it? Because mine keeps trying to.
Make sure there's a dot in the path that's not the start of the directory. So I've got here the %252e, then the dot after that. Just looking for the string thing. So if I do what? If I do that, and then I just, so that's obviously not going to work. But if, whoops, wrong one. If I go back another level.
I really want to go to someone and make my database password a smiley face. That would be great for you, Deb. Use obscure code characters.
Oh, you just
There we go.
There we go.
Etc. password file on the server. If you don't have the .m, you can just get the passwords for everything on server. Well, the password.
That file's going to exist. You can't wipe that out with the PHP
Yeah.
preloader.
If you're running on a Lambda, I don't know if it exists on there, but different attack service. So yeah.
This is in my app, and I feel so violated right now.
So yeah. I guess, cool. That's basically.
Everyone's got some work.
Yeah. Anyone want any help with committing any of the challenges while I'm standing up here? Or are we
Still
all
can't make
good?
the .md go away.
I'm missing one of the dots.
What if you
Why
go
don't
up?
you send two keys?
We'll never do that.
Yeah.
So I've got after my gun /%252e dot slash. Yes, I've only included one of the dots and double dot. Yes, you go to another level.
Plain text.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so you got to go back 2 levels. Let me just go back to
CSV,
dot n.
full names,
There we
nothing
go.
encrypted.
Everything
Text, everything.
Cool.
Plain.
And yeah, so from here we have our AWS keys, which not suspicious at all. I did this in Europe and no one pinged them. It's like seriously, I put my keys on the screen and no one tried to go to my keys, canary token. I was really disappointed that no one picked that up.
Why doesn't anyone tag me?
Exactly. Canary tokens with my talks and no one goes to them. It's like, why? It's on YouTube. Surely someone is trolling YouTube and finding AWS keys and videos and trying to visit them, but no.
So I'd like to bump set spike something for you. Maybe I'll set it up and you can just smash it. So, can we enjoy some security by obscurity instead of using 13, using UUIDs?
UIDs will help. Until someone.
Frustrate it's still a longer brute force.
Yeah, they'll help until someone can get the UUID. And what I've seen, especially if you've got like an SPA, where you're sending, say, all your users to the browser in order to list the users list, the UUIDs are usually listed with the users. So the edit page, you just go to the view users list. It tells you the users, which you can often, everyone can see. And then you just find the UUID in there in the source code or the payload from the server. Then you put that in the edit URL and you get straight in. So UUIDs aren't secret. A better solution is doing authorization or maybe signing the URL so that only the URL that's being generated can actually be used. Do you need me to explain signed URLs?
Yes.
Cool. So back at the start when we had the validating our account, we had a URL that had the signature. So what happens there is when the page is being loaded, we're generating the route, the URL, which has the whatever it was, like verify account, and then it passes it through a cryptographic signature, and then it appends that to the URL. And then that email is now unique. That URL cannot be modified. When the server receives it on the request, it grabs the signature and checks. It generates a new signature based on the data, what is the URL, and it checks it matches the signature received. And so if the signatures don't match, it means the URL has been changed. And if the URL has been changed, it won't let you in. And so in order to generate like an edit URL or any sort of function where you only want the person who's supposed to be running the URL, you can sign it, and then you can change the URL once you want, and it won't work because the signature will verify that it's the original URL. And so
a header? Is that a header that comes back with the response?
No, it's just a query parameter. So it adds a query parameter.
Gotcha.
What was it? I don't know what it was. Like that sort of thing. And so if you've got like the signature in there, well, then it's going to check that this bit matches what it expects to be. And so if you make any changes, if you go, where is it? So if you've got that, and that's the signature that's been signed, then this signature matches that ID of 1 on the rest of the URL. And so if you go along and change this, that will generate a new signature because the application grabs this bit of it and it generates a signature from that. And if it doesn't match the signature that's passed in, this bit over here, it's going to reject it.
Yeah.
And so Laravel has helper functions that do this signed route. Really, really simple. You just call the URL signed route function. It spits out the signed URL. Then you can just do it through middleware or the request object. You can verify signed or is signed or whatever it is. There's a function in there, it's called, which makes it really, really easy. So one of my favorite features in there because it's just so simple to use. And internally, it does I think it's a HMAC on the signature on the URL, so it's cryptographically secure. You can also set expiry times on them as well. So you can say this will only work for the next hour, which is really helpful for like expiry URLs like user verification. So you can send a verified email that has to be clicked in the next hour or unsubscribe to link or whatever.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Why didn't you put the real database password in there?
When
It's the real database.
Yeah,
I tried.
when I did this in Europe, I had a separate database cluster and a Redis cluster running for this because I wasn't sure if 500 people hitting this up, then I was going to take down a single DigitalOcean server. And so I hid that because it was actual, database running, and I didn't want that attacked. This one's just running a single server, so I could have had that public because you can't get to it because of firewalls. But yeah,
Sure.
You didn't want to be.
Trying to access the database on localhost.
I wasn't. I was just like trying to see the IP address, hoping that it was just exposed to the world.
the IP address of 127.0.0.
IP address of the site.
Oh yeah, no, it's all firewall. So that one could be exposed because of the server. But when I was running in Europe, it was something more sensitive, and the same for the Redis server as well, which it didn't pick up on because there's nothing there because it's localized. So yeah.
Did you say those AWS credentials were canaries?
Yeah.
You'll be pleased I hit the canary for you.
Yay! Finally, something like canary.
There's a profile.
Yeah. I tried to do it AWS S3 LS and didn't access denied.
Oh, yeah, that worked.
That's
So I'm going to have an 11 for now.
Oh, all right.
That's cool.
How does that work?
Well,
Like,
we
is that like an
answer
actual
AWS now.
AWS? Is that like a legit AWS account?
So Canary tokens. Canary tokens.org. I love these guys. They're fantastic. You go to canarytokens.org, you generate a token. They've got a whole bunch of different types. There's web ones, DNS tokens, AWS keys. There's your login, blah, 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 credentials. You've got QR codes, MySQL dumps, which is really nifty, Windows folders, heaps of different things.
Yep.
And all you have to do is select what type you want, your email address. Create my token. Oh, here we go. That's it. A new token. So it generates an account for you, sets up all the loading, then it just sends you an email when someone hits it. It's that simple. You throw these around your environment. And if anyone is snooping around and finds the keys and tries it, you get them alone.
Is this presumably like they have an account in AWS?
Yeah, so
Generate you a key or something?
yeah, I don't know how it works in terms of their infrastructure of AWS, but yeah, it's a legitimate AWS account. You just can't do anything on it, but when you hit it, they get alerts get sent. Yeah.
Because like we get like,
It would be an API request with an IAM user, which
Yeah.
but we get access to know if we try to access anything. There's probably like a rule in the alerting stuff at AWS.
Yeah.
That's all.
Yeah, there's nothing there. They try very hard to make it so you can't detect that it's
Yeah.
alerting key.
Yeah.
Which is one of the things. So yeah.
'Cause, like the MySQL dump, like there's some way that like it essentially does like not a curl request, but it's something like that, a request
Yeah.
that you can sort of see, but the idea is you're not going to look through 100,000 lines of SQL.
Yeah, exactly,
sort of thing.
yeah.
Like that, like, you can't tell.
Exactly. Yeah. Some of them are more obvious than others, but yeah, this one's pretty nifty. Problem with this one is it can take up to half an hour to alert, which is great when you're doing a live demo and a half an hour talk and someone hits this and you wait for like half an hour for it to work because they do relies on AWS infrastructure.
Nice.
Anyway, so thank you very much for coming to my talk. Listening, staying here, having hacking. There's our top 5 hackers. And I will be picking one person from the database to get a free license for my Laravel security course. There's a discount code down the bottom, so goodbye. It's fun. It's early access, though, so there's not much there, but it's being built. Anyway, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Like you don't use Laravel, how applicable is the security course to like other frameworks?
Very well. I've got interactive challenges, and they're similar to what we were doing in this. Currently, there's cross-site scripting ones, and I'm building some CSRF ones at the moment, and they're all non-Laravel specific. I mean, there will be some Laravel. There are. I mean, all the information is geared around Laravel, but the concepts are all applicable elsewhere. And some things will be more generic and less Laravel specific, just the nature of them as well. So you'll definitely learn something from it, even if you don't use Laravel. Yeah.
Cool. Thank you. How many giveaways are there?
Just 2.
Cool.
JetBrains voucher and the
How do I disconnect myself? Stop sharing. There we go.
Excellent. So thank you.
Mhm.
Thanks everyone for coming along tonight. Thanks to the 11 people that submitted to BrisPHP.com/pizza. Thank you. So, to draw out some winners for the Amazon Echo. Yeah, that's what it was, isn't it? Yeah. James. Not that James. Different James.
The other James,
There are a couple Jameses here.
James B.
Yes, I think James B.
He left
And,
with Kamal.
and Raj
Gotta make
for
it
the
hard.
JetBrains voucher.
that goes in it.
Cool. We got your email addresses, so Nathan will send them off. I'm like,
Okay, cool.
Can we have a spinning wheel next time or something?
Yeah.
Some sort of animation.
That you can hack.
like, I'll say yes now. It's no point asking. Yeah, thanks everyone for coming along tonight. Hopefully you submitted some like talk requests as well through that pizza form too. But if you have any talks you would like to present as well, obviously there's a great group of people here that are all interested in lots of fun things. If you're interested in giving a talk, please jump onto the GitHub issues. It's github.com/BrisPHP/meetups. Post them there. There's also a bunch of talk requests there, stuff that people have asked for. So if you feel like you have something you can add there, please jump in. And thanks to CreditSense for the awesome venue tonight, and thanks to foundU for the pizza.